welcome to my channel. In today's video we'll be making 3 different meals. We're going to be making Crock-Pot green chili enchilada soup, baked ziti, and Crock-Pot beef tacos. So if any of these sound yummy to you guys, keep watching and you can learn how to make these recipes. And I'll go ahead and link all of the recipes in the description box below. So the first recipe is going to be for the Crock-Pot green chicken chili enchilada soup. So I'm starting by spraying my Crock-Pot with some cooking spray and putting in the can of green enchilada sauce, 2 cans of black beans rinsed and drained, and a can of white beans rinsed and drained, and 1 pound of boneless, skinless chicken thighs, or you can use breast. It's all up to your preference. And I'm adding 2 cans of diced fire roasted green chilies and 1 can of diced tomatoes. And next I'm going to add the seasonings. That's going to be 4 teaspoons of ground chili powder, 1 tablespoon of ground cumin, 3/4 teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And also, I did before that, add the 2 cups of chicken broth. I'm going to mix that all together. Okay. And once everything's all mixed together, we're going to cook it on low for 6 hours. So it all depends on your crock pot, of course. You can see my daughter's little fingers. She's helping me in the kitchen. I love when she helps me cook stuff. I think it's so cute and makes her so happy. She's always so proud of herself. Okay, and after that's done, you're going to remove the chicken thighs or the chicken breast, put them in a bowl. And then you're going to add the cream cheese. You're going to use 1 package of cream cheese, 8 ounces, and make sure that it's softened. I find it easier if you cut it into cubes first too. Mix it around a little bit. And then you're going to cook that on high for 30 minutes. And of course, make sure you put the lid back onto the slow cooker. Okay, and while that's cooking, you're going to shred the chicken. I'm doing it manually because I'm also holding my baby at that time, so he wouldn't let me put him down. But I also like to use the KitchenAid mixer with the paddle attachment. That works really well if you have extra hands. Okay, so I'm going to open up the crock pot after that 30 minutes has passed. And I'm going to stir it around to kind of mix that cream cheese in a little bit more. And then you'll add in your chicken thighs or chicken breast back into the crock pot. And mix everything around. Okay, and you can add any kind of toppings you'd like. We just crushed some tortilla chips on top. You can add and shredded cheese. You can do avocado, sour cream, anything that you usually like to put on top of nachos or tacos, that kind of style. Okay, next we're making the baked ziti, and I'm starting off by chopping up the onion. So you want to use 1 large onion. And before that, I actually started boiling the pasta. I'm finished cooking that ziti pasta there. And now I'm adding some olive oil to a pot. and I have it over medium heat, and I'm adding my onions there. And I'm gonna saute those and let those soften. And we're kind of jumping ahead because I was on a conference call with my son's teacher. So we went ahead and added the seasonings to the marinara sauce. So I used a 32-ounce jar of marinara sauce, and I added 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, 1 teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of ground black pepper. And also with the onions, I sauteed 4 garlic cloves minced. So now I'm adding that sauce. I let that sauce come to a simmer, simmered it for a little while, and I'm adding it to the ziti pasta that I had boiled earlier, and mix that together really well. And I forgot to mention, to the marinara sauce, I also added 14.5-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. So I'm spraying my pan, that's a 9x13 pan, and I'm adding 1 layer of the ziti mixture. And now I'm adding some of the ricotta cheese, and I'm going to spread that around. I feel like that's the hardest part about making lasagna or any kind of Italian dish when you're using ricotta cheese. It's so hard to spread around evenly. So I'm just trying my best here. So I'm actually using half of the container of the ricotta cheese there. And I'm topping with half of the mozzarella cheese for the recipe. And the recipe calls for a 16-ounce bag of shredded mozzarella. So I'm using half of that cheese and layering that on top. And then I'm sprinkling half of my Parmesan cheese on top of that. So the whole recipe calls for half a cup of Parmesan cheese, so I'm just using half of that, so 1/4 cup. Okay, and then now I'm doing 1 more layer, so I'm going to do the rest of the ziti pasta mixture. So you'll want to do half in the beginning layer and then half in the second layer. So it makes it a little bit easier than other recipes. Sometimes they call for using 1/3 of it. I feel like that's always kind of more difficult to eyeball than half of the mixture. So another reason I like this recipe. Okay, I'm going to spread that around. And you want to make sure that you have your oven preheated to 350. So I'm just doing that second layer of ricotta. I'm using the other half of the ricotta cheese. And then I'm adding the other half of the shredded mozzarella. A lot of cheese in this recipe, so. want to also mention that the original recipe called for a pound of ground beef, but I decided to go ahead and make this meatless. I wasn't really feeling like meat in this particular dish, so we just need this more of a vegetarian style. Again, sprinkling the rest of the Parmesan. And then I'm going to go ahead and wrap it in foil. So I'm spraying my foil with some cooking spray so the cheese doesn't stick to the foil whenever I bake it. And I'm just going to wrap that up, and I'm going to put it in the fridge because when I'm making this, I'm prepping it ahead during nap time. So this is fast forward to the future when it's closer to dinner time. So I'm preheating my oven at 350, and I'm going to put it in the oven for, the recipe calls for 20 to 25 minutes. So I'm going to do 25 minutes since I did have it in the fridge for a little while. And once that's finished, you want to take the foil off, and then you'll bake it an additional 10 to 15 minutes uncovered until the cheese is nice and brown and bubbly. And this is how it came out. Super delicious. And so I went ahead and served it with a side salad. So this is our dinner plated. Of course, my daughter has baby carrots because she will not eat salad. And then my baby has some green beans there. So, okay, this is the next recipe. Is going to be the beef tacos. So I'm starting off by cutting up the roast that I'm using. I'm using a boneless chuck roast. So I'm cutting it into 4-inch cubes. So just large cubes. So the recipe, I don't know really how to say it, but it's called slow cooker birria de res. I'm butchering that completely, so. But it's really, really tasty. And the house smelled amazing whenever I was making this. And I'm spraying my slow cooker with some nonstick cooking spray. I'm going to add the beef. And 8 cups of water. And 8 garlic cloves. I know it sounds like a lot, but I think that's what made it smell so good in the house when it was cooking. And I'm adding some of the spices and herbs. So it called for 1 tablespoon of salt, half a tablespoon of black peppercorns, 3 bay leaves, half a teaspoon of dried oregano, 2 sprigs of marjoram, 1 sprig of mint, 2 sprigs of thyme. So I'm mixing that all together, and I'm going to cook it in the slow cooker here, turning that on. And you want to cook it on low for 8 to 10 hours. And my Crock-Pot cooks pretty quickly, but we had been running out of time by the time we actually put this in the Crock-Pot, so I did high for 6 hours. But it still came out so amazing. It's so bubbly. So you want to shred the beef. Now again, you can also remove the beef and shred it using like either fork or one of these tools or even the KitchenAid mixer. So either way, you can shred it however you prefer. And I'm just making a little side salad. So I'm just making a little cucumber and red onion side salad. So I'm just slicing up my cucumber. Just to add kind of like a freshness to the meal. And I feel like we were kind of getting burnt out on regular salad. We do that a lot with different meals. We just like salad. I'm just dicing up half a red onion into thin slices. And I already rinsed and drained my garbanzo beans, so I'm mixing everything together. It's a really simple salad, but it's really yummy. And some olive oil, just eyeballing that. And then some lime juice from fresh lime juice. And a little salt. And some pepper. You want to mix that all together. It tastes better if you let it chill for a while in the fridge before serving it. Okay, so you want to heat your frying pan. You want to make sure that it's like a medium-high heat to high heat. So I just put some olive oil and I'm adding the tortilla, the corn tortilla, and the shredded meat that we had cooked earlier. And the kind of cheese I'm using, it's called the Oaxaca cheese, I think is how you say it. But it melts really gooey. It's delicious on tacos. So you want to let it fry a little bit and then press it down and just let it get real crisp. So I had followed the recipe originally, and it says to dip the tortilla into the broth from the beef. That did not work out for me at all. It made the tortilla fall apart completely. So I don't know if I just did something wrong, but just putting olive oil in the pan and frying it in the pan like that worked well for me. And this is our plated dinner here. So I hope you guys liked this video. My favorite out of the three was probably the green chili Crock-Pot enchilada soup. And it was my favorite, my husband's favorite, both my sons, my baby, he had leftovers a few days later, like he just tore it up. That's just like been his favorite meal that I've made for him so far out of all the meals. He's 10 months old now, so he's had quite a few meals so far. So we've had that recipe forever. We've been using that. I got that from a friend of mine, Lori, and we had it one Halloween that we went, had dinner at their house before we went trick-or-treating. And ever since, I've loved that. I've tried all different recipes for Crock-Pot enchilada soup, and that's my absolute favorite. So you guys have to try it. And so I hope you guys liked the whole video. The tacos turned out really good too. And the baked ziti, it was almost like a lasagna. So I would really recommend making all three of these recipes. And they really don't take too much time. Just have to plan ahead, of course, as always, right? Mom life. So don't forget to subscribe, and if you want any other kind of videos or cooking videos, just leave it in the comments below. Thank you guys, and have a great day.